I can't believe we're almost done with 2020. So the last
Thank
year,
God.
I know, right?
Jesus Christ.
Let me out. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say is like, if you can go in, because $300 a night is $300 a night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're switching into a different revenue stream. So it's not like buy property, put money into it, sell property. This is like buy property, bring in rental income, which can be constant. So if you can buy something for $150 and still charge $300 a night, that's what makes it difficult here in Denver. It's like, well, you got to buy something for $500,000 and it's $300 a night. You're like, oh shit, man. So when I'm thinking of like Texas and Waco and even like Kansas or a lot of, it probably is great. This will keep me up tonight thinking about this. There probably are markets where you can say you could really figure out the right set of variables where you can say, all right, population, destinations,
we already found it. Don't come to Waco. It's mine.
Okay.
No.
We'll give you Waco.
No.
But it's like, all right, so college town, check. All right, has to have big conferences, check. Maybe Fortune 500, check. It has to have this, check. Certain population, but housing values have to stay under this. And you could just say, all right, turns out Lincoln, Nebraska. All right, let's go look at buying some property in Lincoln, Nebraska, and turning those into VRBOs. You know what I mean?
You say that.
That's exactly what we did. Because when I went from college in Kansas back to California, and then I was like, what am I going to do? Like, where are we going to go live? Because I didn't like California. I didn't like how expensive it was. I was out of college. I had no money. So that's exactly. I made a list. I'm like, so for investment properties, what is going to be the safest bet in every, for flipping? So say we flip, the market crashes, college town, guaranteed rent, no matter what.
Yep.
So what companies are there? Like, where I was in Kansas,
right.
That Amazon distribution center came in right before we sold our house. Like amazing. So I was looking at, okay, what areas, like we were talking about Tennessee, Kentucky, there's other areas that we were looking into to see like, where do we have the safest bet regardless of what happens?
Right.
And we weren't even coming out here to do Airbnbs. We were kind of more flipping. And that was kind of our mindset. It's like, we want to flip, we want to have houses flip by the end of this next year. And then we saw this Airbnb market and we just played it out. Just like you said, we have all these reasons that people are going to come here. Say Magnolia closes down because it's fairly new. You never know what could happen. We still have university. We still have companies. It's still major growth. We have all these top golfs and all these things being built here, as well as it's a major hub between Dallas and Austin. So it's like, we played it out in that exact same way that like you just said, where it's like, well, say we're flipping, we have this option. Say we're not flipping and we're doing Airbnbs or rentals. If it all crashes, we still have sale value or resale value because of all the growth that's been happening around us during this time. So it's really calculating the exact path you want to take and making sure that the ones that you aren't going to take are still options if your number one falls.
And this is what makes this stuff so interesting to me, right? Because 25 minutes ago, I'm saying, just do one thing really, really well, right? Which I still agree with. But if you're listening to this podcast now and you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Why don't I go buy a property for, and then rent it out for $300? I'll put 30 grand into it, make it really nice, put it up on Airbnb or VRBO, right? Well, yeah, if you're in an area that can support that model, but if you're in California right now, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to go in and buy something for $750,000 and then rent it out. You're going to have like a 75% rental rate to make your money back, so that may not be what you do there. And I think like Shane and I were just talking about this here in Denver, where the housing market is so insane. I mean, literally, if you're not the first people in the first 15 minutes, you're pretty much out on anything that comes on the market. So that tells me it's like, all right, well, then we need to do new construction, but we needed to do it in a way that is different, right? And I can still go buy a lot for 200 grand and I can put something on there or 150 grand and we can build something and be 340,000, but then we'll get to capture that market, right? Instead of having to go buy something that's overpriced, that's already dilapidated, strip it down, put more money into it in the hope that we didn't price ourselves out of the neighborhood or price ourselves out of the market. So maybe new construction in a really hot market is the way to go. It's really tough, man, but it's just it's
and,
you know,
and
you
the thing
can
is, there could be 5 great options for one area. It's not like
100%.
one option is going to be that's the option for that area. I mean, you might have 3, 4, 5 different ones that are like, okay, this area supports all of these. That's great. It all comes down to just legitimately looking at, and I look at a lot of the history, because that history of the growth usually predicts exactly what's going to happen. And I mean, that's why Texas won for us. I mean, you can see the migration to Texas right now. It's huge. Yeah. So I mean,
somebody just moved. Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan just moved to Texas.
Yeah, it was like Austin or something. Huh. Yeah. He was like, I'm done. I'm done with California. I'm out.
I mean, it sucks. It really does. Like, I was in California. I mean, and I was like, I wanted to buy land. I wanted to have acreage. I wanted to have trucks. I wanted to have, all these different things. And I'm like, I can't even buy an empty lot with like a weed on it because like it's like $300,000, and then I got to build a house and pay $80,000 before I can even break ground. So it just made no sense, because I'm like, I literally every dollar I could get would literally only buy me the. So that's why, I mean, at some point you got to understand, and a lot of people don't realize this who live in expensive areas, you can go outside your area and do this. You don't have to necessarily do it in your backyard. If you want to move, or if you want to, get an infrastructure somewhere else. I know a lot of guys from California that I'm in contact with that I've helped buy property, and they now have Airbnbs here in Waco. So it's one of those things where don't just, take yourself out of the running because you don't live there.